All right, so let's talk for a little bit about the managing publications with NCBI. So some of you will have an account, some of you will be using your PI's account, and that's fine. Your PI can set you up as a delegate both in NCBI as well as in the ERA Commons. But in reality, I know quite a few of you just use their login information. So what is NCBI? Well, let's sort of back up and go with NCBI. What is NCBI? It's the National Center for Biotechnology Information, which is a huge collection of many databases, everything from genes to biotechnology to biomedicine. So biomedicine, think PubMed, and along with that is the fact that PubMed and PMC are just two of the resources that are there. So you don't have to worry about the other 43. We're going to focus on just two. And within NCBI, you can reserve space through the National Library of Medicine, which is sort of the overarching group for NCBI, and overarching in National Library of Medicine is NIH, just to kind of give you some context with that. And the NCBI space has sort of two purposes. It can help with the publication process, and it also helps with customizing PubMed. So saving searches, turning them into alerts, creating special collections of information. That's all things that can be specially customized in PubMed. Beyond what we're going to talk about today, that's our PubMed classes. So we can talk about that at another time. But these all can be linked. So you can go from a NCBI account, it is linked to the National Institutes of Health, and it can also be tied into your ERA Commons account. And Jill will be showing a little bit more of that aspect of things, but just a common question that people ask is, how do you tie them together? And that's basically when you first sign into ERA Commons, you can link your NCBI account right there automatically. And so quite often, if you're using a PI's account, it's probably already done, that linking. Just a couple of quick comments about identification numbers, because you may have heard of PMID, PubMed ID. There's a PMC ID. So what's the difference? PMID is the unique number assigned to PubMed items, and again, PubMed's the database. It's just the citation information that gets put into PubMed. A PMC ID number is what the goal of the NIH manuscript submission system is all about. You want that PMC ID number for the grants, and that number gets assigned once an item is accepted for display into PMC. So again, the difference, the PMC ID, that's your full text papers. The PMID links to the citation or the abstract in PubMed. So how do we combine the two of these? So if we go from the NCBI tool to MyBibliography, that's a centralized place where individual citations can be accessed, exported, even shared. It is the place to put things that have grant funding if you've got a PI who does that. It's also a place where not only the journal articles can be included, but everything else. So if your PI wants an online space with all of their bibliography stuff in it, that can be something that MyBibliography serves. It is NIH's way to manage grant publications. And there are three different ways that the MyBibliography can be populated. It can be done from PubMed. It can be searched from MyBibliography to PubMed. But realize that not everything that is published is going to be in PubMed. So there may be times when you need to manually enter the information, which is great if you have just one or two things that need to be added, or you're entering that initial manuscript process. You'll have to use the manual feature before it's, and you can do this within the first 3 months after an article has been submitted. And then there's the bulk upload process, which is great if you're coming back into someone's MyBibliography, and there's a lot of articles to add if they have them already in a citation management program, so things like Mendeley or EndNote, you can upload 20, 30, 100 more citations into MyBibliography, and then you can start to work from there. If you are signing in through the ERA Commons, you will have something that when I do a demonstration in a minute, I can't show you because I'm not a grant person and I don't have an ERA Commons account. But once you do that linking process and sign in from ERA Commons, you'll be able to tag each one of the individual journal citations with information about the grants that they're affiliated with. And some articles may be affiliated with more than one grant. All right, so why is MyBibliography important? Well, the citations that are entered into MyBibliography are also feeding into some of the progress reports. And some of those reports don't let you add citations to the report themselves. The report is pulling specifically from MyBibliography. So if you want newer publications to appear in the progress report, it has to be in MyBibliography. So that's why you have to keep that MyBibliography up to date for your PI. All right, so let's go look at, excuse me, let's go look at MyBibliography. I can show you how to add some of the information from there. So I'm going to hop out to a browser. I'm already at PubMed, and so I'm going to click to sign in up here in the corner. And if you need to register for an account, that link is down here, but let me just go ahead and sign in real quickly. And now that I'm signed in, I have to use my NCBI to get back to it. There we go. So I have nothing in MyBibliography. It's nice and blank, so I'm going to go search PubMed. And I'm going to just do an author search, typical author search. And I will grab this first one that's come up here. And I'll use this send to option right here, and we'll send it to MyBibliography. And confirm that. There'll be one more step. It'll let me choose MyBibliography or other citations. And the difference between these two are that they're pretty much the same. If you look at them, they'll look very, very much the same. The philosophy is this allows the MyBibliography to be dedicated for the articles that your PI, your researcher, has actually authored. The other citations business is for those author-affiliated articles that the PI is not on as an author, but still are grant funded, and you can keep a collection of those so that they can be used in the research reports, but not pollute someone's MyBibliography for things that they have not worked on themselves. So for this, I'm going to leave it MyBibliography and click Save. And now when I go to my NCBI, there's my one item that's there. So let me click on Manage MyBibliography. And once I'm here, I have this Add from PubMed button, and I've used it a little bit, and I'm not overly wowed with its search capability, but it is handy for a quick author search. So I'll do a different type of author search using full name, so PubMed's good for that. And let's see what else it finds. So it recognizes the one that's already in there, so it's grayed out. But then there's another one that I could add. So I'll click on that and add that to MyBibliography. So this time it worked perfectly. I've got my items there, so I'll close this, and there it is. Woohoo! All done. All right, so there's a few more that I can add. So I know I have one that I can enter, so clinical trials, and so it's me, so I'll enter that information, and I'll enter the journal information. Journal of Consumer Health on the Internet. That's the journal. So that's the minimum information that I have to enter. I don't have to enter the other stuff, and so I don't remember it offhand. So I'll go ahead and add that citation. So if you were, I missed one. Year. Let's see, I think this was 2004. All right, so there I have that entered. And I have a little pencil tool here, so that just signifies to the system and to me that this is not drawn directly from PubMed. It's actually one of the other processes, either through an uploaded file or manually, and that means you can update it. These don't have the pencil tool. I cannot edit them or change them. All right, so let's try this time to upload a file. So I'll click on this button here, upload a file, go find my file, and it has to be in a specific format, which is the RIS format. It's a universal file format, or the Medline format. And if you have questions on those, let me know at a later time. It's all about the citation management tool that you use. So let's click open and cross our fingers and hope it all comes in as expected. Wahoo! Yes, it did. And so you can see here, this is just an example of it understanding the different type of publications. So for NIH compliance, we're only focusing on the journal articles, but your PI could have other things here, meeting abstracts, books, chapters, whatever they have in their publication list. And it has recognized that I've just pulled in some information, but I already had one here. And this is a nice feature where if you have an NIH manuscript deposit mark, or you've put something into the MyBibliography because it just went into NIH manuscript system, it will eventually catch up with that as you add the confirmed one. So if you've added grant affiliations with any of these, when it goes through the process, it will combine that information. So I have a warning up here, and I'll just go ahead and click on that. And it'll give me the option to consolidate everything on the one that came in from PubMed with a PMID number. And I'll leave the check that's there, and I'll finish and close that. So it'll freshen up that list. It also brought in one, so while I said PubMed kind of recognizes things, it doesn't always if it's not from PubMed or using the PMID number. So I've got these two duplicate ones. So one of these I entered manually, and one is more fully filled out from the import process. So I'm just going to select number 4 and delete it and clean up that list. Now, one of the things I can do if I find in a MyBibliography citations from another author, not quite the case in this case, but let me show you. I'll select number 5 and I will move it, and it'll automatically know that you're trying to move it to the other citations. So it'll clean up that list. So now my bibliography has just the journal articles and other items that I want in there. And if I click on My NCBI and come down to collections, my other citations are right here. Maybe it'll come up. There we go. So I have a couple of things in here, not quite true, but if this were written by somebody else, you can see it looks very much like my bibliography, and will be a place to keep track of those things that are not your PI's direct work, but is related to their grant. All right, so those are the 3 ways that things can get into PubMed or into MyBibliography in my NCBI. And this is just to kind of give you the big picture of what's happening. So we'll start at the bottom. We've talked about the NIH Public Access Manuscript Submission System. So over on, I guess it depends on how you're looking at it, but over on my left, manuscript is submitted through either method C or D, gets converted to full text and put into PubMed Central. On the opposite side, we've got the publishers coming in with method A and B. That all gets fed into PubMed. So anything that is in PubMed Central, it will also be listed in PubMed. Now, MyBibliography comes in. It keeps track of things for the NIH compliance. It's reading from PubMed. PubMed is feeding it. It can also connect with PubMed Central. Then we've got the ERA Commons, where you're associating grants with publications so that you can do the research reports. All feeds into NIH, which is all about the money, and this all starts with the mandate in 2008 for the NIH Public Access Policy. So I think we're going to switch now to Jill and have her talk about a few other things like the NIH Progress Report.